Hey guys, in previous video we saw how we upgraded vCenter server from 7.x to 8.x version. Now let's play around with ESXi 7.x and see how we are going to upgrade this to 8.x. So right now you can see I have one ESXi host. It's a nested ESXi, which is currently running on 7.0.3, and this is the build number. Now, as you know, we have multiple ways to upgrade ESXi host. I think I noted it down somewhere here. Yeah. So the first one is the UI method. It's a very common method where you mount the ISO either using the hardware management console like Dell iDRAC or HP ILO, and then do it. Then we have scripted upgrade, then using ESXi CLI. This is the other common one which we use. And also we use the vSphere auto deploy method for customers who already have the auto deploy set up. And finally, we use this vSphere lifecycle manager. So this one is pretty new from 7.x version. Let's explore this option because the other ones, I think it's pretty straightforward and we know how to do it. This is not straightforward and also not this, but then ESXi way and mount the ISO is straightforward. So let's try the other way to do it, which is the vSphere lifecycle manager way. So first thing first, let's go check the vCenter, and if you go to updates, right? So here we have vCenter and hosts. So now when we go to the baselines, you would see here a very clear message: vSphere lifecycle manager baselines, previously called the update manager, will be deprecated. So if we go with this method, right, we have to create a baseline, attach the baseline, then do a staging and remediate. It's same as how we do it with vSphere update manager previously. So we know that this is getting deprecated. So let's not go with this method. Instead, we will go with the image way of doing things. So to do this, this is a cluster level component. So we have to go to the cluster and again go to the updates. If you go to the updates, when the baseline option is selected, you still see the same message what we see what we saw on the vCenter updates option. So let's go to the image option. And for this method, the cluster method, right? So whatever we are creating now, in my example, I have only one ESXi host, but then if you have, say, multiple ESXi hosts, this particular image, what you're going to set up will be for all the hosts in the cluster. So the compliance will be checked for all the hosts in the cluster. So let's see how we set this up. First, let's click on setup image. And of course, this one does require internet connectivity. The reason is you can see, right, it kind of pulls all the ESXi version details, everything. So this one definitely needs internet connectivity. I think, let me see if I can find that option. If we go to updates and images, I think I should see it somewhere. Or maybe here, lifecycle manager. Yeah. So you see here, all this the image depot, and where this information is pulled, it's from VMware side. So if you go to the settings, the automatic downloads is enabled, and if you go to patch setup, we can see all this URLs connectivity is established. So we need to have internet connectivity to do this option. So let me go back to host and cluster and the cluster and start setting up the image. So it's checking for the cluster readiness. Okay, so in the dropdown, I will go ahead and select the latest one which is available, which is A.O.A. And the good thing about this particular option is we have vendor add-ons which can be included. So say, for example, I go here, and if I need to add in some Dell specific, why is not showing Dell? Yeah. So if I want to add specific Dell related, add-ons, I can go and select here. So this also will be part of the image what we are trying to create. So since mine is an ESXi nested, I cannot show this option really, and it would not work as well. Same applies to the firmware and driver add-ons. So if I want to include any driver and firmware part of the image and part of the upgrade process, so I can go pick some image here. It's not showing. So the other option where we can show, right, or where we can see this is if you go to Lifecycle Manager, and if we go to updates, yeah, the image depot, sorry, here we can go to components, and here we can also select some of the firmware like QLogic, maybe, yeah, we can pick something from here. If we I'm not sure if many of you are aware, previously we had this image builder tool which kind of does similar thing, I would say, where we kind of put in whatever whips we need and whatever add-ons we need and build the image by ourselves. That's kind of a command line thing which we used to do previously. I've done it like long time back. So I believe this one is more easy, a kind of a UI method where we need not go and do it manually. Everything is available. We just need to pick and choose and create a image. So I'll go with this. No vendor add-on, no firmware and driver add-on, and I click on. Okay, first before save, I'll validate just to see if this image is valid. Don't take that long. It just scans and says, yeah, the image is valid. Okay, now I'll go ahead and save this options which I selected. Now, once the step one is done, we will go ahead and check the image compliance against the cluster hosts. All right, so if you see here, it automatically doing the task, which is checking the cluster for compliance against this image what we created. So right now my ESXi is 7.0.3. So it's checking the compliance against 8.0, and definitely it should show non-compliant, and we have to patch or upgrade the ESXi to make it compliant. So let's wait for this results. Okay, so the compliance check is completed, and as we can see, one host is incompatible with the image, which we knew. And then if we go down here, the CPU is not supported, definitely not, because this is a nested ESXi. So the other advantage is it goes and verifies against the hardware compatibility list of VMware to check the CPU compatibility. And it also says the host will be rebooted, and even the quick boot option is supported on the ESXi host. So uh, this is the host current version, and this is the image version. Now, if we are good with all these things, we just need to click on finish image setup so that image is created. Image setup will be replace all the baseline attached to the cluster, and its host will be image. Yeah. So if there is any baseline images attached, right, for the deprecating options previously what I mentioned, those all will be detached, and this will be the option. So let's say yes. All right. So now we have the image setup ready. We also check the compliance. Now we can do a pre-check. So pre-check is basically it'll go against all the hosts in the cluster to see if there's any potential issue doing this. If not, we should be good to remediate. All right, so the prefix just says the ESXi is not compatible, which is okay. Now let's go ahead and do the remediate. Before that, these options should be enabled, the remediate and actions. For some reason, it is not showing up. Maybe because it's flagging the CPU is not supported by ESXi. And there is a force remediate option available, which I need to check. Let me check on this. All right, guys. So I did find a workaround for this. I believe this is expected when you're running a nested ESXi host, right? The compliance check, what you see here, uh, does flag this is an issue, and it doesn't allow us to remediate. And I did a quick, Google search, and William Lamb post shows the same thing because we don't know like what exactly is the steps to override this or force remediate. And I found an article here which I'm going to try live while doing this video. So all we need to do is SSH into the nested ESXi and go to this location and edit the boot.config file and append this to kernel offline. So let's do that. Let me go ahead and take putty and ESXi 7x. I'm connecting to my ESXi host. Okay, I think I don't have SSH enabled. Let me see. All right, the SSH is started. Should work now. Okay, so login as root, and then let's go back to this article. So I have to go to boot bank, and then if I edit the file boot.cfg, I need to go to the line which says kernel opt and append this. So I'll just copy this. The screenshot is given here. I go to kernel opt and just append this here. Okay. So let me go here, kernel opt, and then I paste this. I save and exit. Let me double check. Okay, the option is done. Let me see if it requires a reboot. Okay, reboot will be needed to change the effect. Okay, so let me go ahead and do a reboot of ESXi. Let's wait for the host to come back. And you really need not do this on a supported hardware, proper production server, right? We'll definitely have the CPU supported for 8.x if it is part of the hardware compatibility guide. In my case, this is ESXi, which is nested for the lab purpose. And definitely, I think most of the VMware admins would have a lab, so maybe it'll help them. But folks who are watching for the production upgrade, you can very well skip this step. Okay, the host is back online, getting the ping response here. Now let me close this out, go back here. Okay, it's still not come back to vCenter. Just give it some more time. And we also do have the quick reboot option, so I think the reboot should be very fast. Okay, the host is back here. So let's go back to the cluster and the image, and I will do a check compliance again. So this time, if the workaround really works, I should get an option to remediate all, and also I should have this actions tab enabled to remediate the server. Just copy this. Compliance check is done. I'm doing a pre-check again because the option was not enabled. All right, I still do not see that option. Let me see what is the issue. Looks like my the physical server, CPU is very old one, which does not even support the workaround. I see one of the user here also has mentioned it doesn't work for him on this CPU. So to end the video, maybe yeah, I was not able to really go and do this option, but once the pre-check is done, all you need to do is remediate all. Once you do that, the cluster, if it is enabled with DRS, automatically moves the VM from one host to the other host, and the rolling updates happen. Each host gets updated, and all the hosts in the cluster finally gets updated. So let's do this. I just need to get this upgraded, right? So probably I will go with the method which is going to be deprecated. I would go here and then go to updates. Let me go ahead and create a baseline. I will import the ISO which I downloaded here. Going to be bit one. Almost there. So this way is not a future way of doing things, but I'm just finishing the video with upgrading the ESXi host successfully. Okay, so I have the image here. I go create a new baseline for this. vSphere 8.x. And the option is upgrade. And this is the image. And I click on finish. So if I go to baseline, I will see this. So let me go check how do we mount this to this ESXi dates. Okay, I think we have to remove this image because now the cluster is prepared with the image. I might not be able to assign a baseline to it, right? I think this video is taking us somewhere from where we started, but we are able to explore quite a few things. Now let's see how we will go and remove this image from the cluster. Let me check on that. Don't see a way to do it straightforward. Let's see if I can find this online. How to remove image. Um, this is not the image. Okay, maybe right. Let me do this. I will create a new cluster called cluster 2. Okay, so you see here, right? When you create a cluster itself, it asks an option, choose how we want to set up the cluster image. And I kind of uncheck that option so that it doesn't copy over things what we just did. So it creates a very new cluster, and I will go ahead and move this ESXi to this cluster. Sorry, I forgot to put this in maintenance mode. Let me put it in maintenance mode. I don't have any virtual machines, no problem. Yeah, I think it's taking time because we have this cluster VM, right? So because of this VM, the maintenance mode is taking some time. Maybe we have to. Okay, looks like I cannot even stop this. Let's see. Okay, let me stop this. All right, now it's in the maintenance mode, and move the ESXi host here. Go ahead and exit from maintenance mode. Okay, now if you see the difference, right? So we do not have the image settings what we had. And previously in this cluster, when the host was part of this cluster, we didn't have the baseline option itself. Now at least we got back the baseline option because this cluster is a new one which does not have any image set up for that. So if I again click on this manage with single image, I'll go through the same issue what I faced previously. All right, so now I'll go and attach baseline or baseline group. I'll go and attach this baseline which I created. Just waiting for the comply scan to complete. Okay. Now I have the check completed, and then I see that I have one non-compliant baseline, which means out of this host critical and the security patches which are compliant, which means it's already applied to my host. Now, just this baseline which I created is non-compliant, so we can do a pre-check and then remediate. So if I click on remediate, I just go through this license agreement, click on OK. Pre-check found some issues, so that should be just the warnings. Like previously, the DRS should be enabled, but if you see no host has any issue to prevent completion of remediation, so that should be okay. So I just go remediate, and then I select this ESXi host, and I don't want to change any remediation settings as of now, but we can do it. Like you can enable quick boot option, and if there's any unsupported warning, we can skip those things. I'm good with this, so let me go ahead and click on remediate. Okay, I'll pause this video and come back once the host is updated. Okay, so we're almost there. I see the host remediate entity is completed, and we can see here the ESXi host is upgraded finally to ESXi 8.0. Let's check if we can verify the same here. Yes, the VMware ESXi, the kernel build is 8.0. Perfect. So, in summary, we started the video with different ways of upgrading ESXi host, and then I wanted to specifically try the vSphere Lifecycle Manager way of doing things. But since the physical hardware on which I'm running this nested ESXi is not supported, even after following the workaround which is outlined in this document, so there are some other users who are facing similar challenges like me, who can see here. Now, I kind of wanted to anyhow upgrade the ESXi host to close this video successfully. Then we use the baseline method, which is the vSphere legacy update manager way of doing things. So we created a baseline, attached the baseline, and then did a pre-check and remediate. But then beyond for doing that, we didn't have an option when the host was part of the cluster, which was prepared for the image way of doing things. So I had to put the host in maintenance mode, evacuate the host out of that cluster, create a new cluster, and then attach the baseline. So overall, it's a good learning for me, and I hope this one will be helpful for someone who's going through the same struggle which we went through. And just another note, since my cluster has only one ESXi host, right? So for putting this host in maintenance mode, this particular VM, which is your cluster VM here, which gets created with every cluster, this was not going in maintenance mode, and I had to forcefully shut it down. Definitely not recommended in production, but then just I have only one host, I have no other option. So as soon as I power it down, the host goes in maintenance mode. All right, guys, then thank you for watching this video.